Hello and welcome to another episode of Back on Track with Hummingbird, my current obsession and muse, and just really enjoying the deep dive and the push towards my very first genuinely complete song. So without further ado, let's dive in, listen to the song as it stands right now, and then we'll come back and have a chat. I think that's done. I think that's all the music I want to write for this song. I'm going to start the mixing process now. So let's have a chat about what's changed in between the versions. Obviously, the vocals have improved a lot. We had another session on the harmonies where Pauline sang some harmonies over the solo at the end, and a couple of clean-up points where things weren't quite how I liked them. But that's the harmonies done now. They all just sound absolutely awesome. Can we solo them? Just have a little bit of a listen to some of them. She's just really good. Little bit of chorus shimmer, totally natural. So it's just transformed the song completely fantastic. And with the little vocal drops we've got as well, where we're singing like call and response kind of things, this sort of stuff.
And dies, down he dies.
It just really takes it to the next level. So that's the vocals done. I'm completely happy with them. I don't think anything else needs to be recorded. It's just a case of finding a place for all of those tracks now to sit in the mix and figure out what to do with that. I bought the Isotope Suite last weekend. It was on sale. So I've got Ozone and Neutron and Nectar and all the various family of products that are going to help me in the mastering process. But as per advice, I'm staying well away from that for now. I'm still writing the music up until this point. So it's really tempting to bring the mastering tools online, but I've avoided that. That will be a separate part of the process. So once I can get the mix, it's very, very close to as good as I can get it completely flat at the moment. So the next step, I believe, is to now start sorting out volume automation on all the tracks and get every piece of music sounding right, as close as I can, just flat in the mix. So that's all going to be done with volume automation. Then I can set about sorting out the panning, fit everything in the stereo field, and then from there we'll take it on. The mastering process is an unknown to me at the moment, so I've got the tools. I've had a little bit of a play with Ozone, just dropping it on the master bus and letting it work its magic with all the default settings is incredible in its own right. Just an amazing leap of quality from the raw mix to the completely out of the box what Ozone thinks you should master it to. And that's probably an indictment of my recording process, that it can make such a dramatic improvement to the sound. I should be getting closer to correct at the outset, but obviously those are things I need to learn. So all of that's for a later date. Let's talk what we've got now. Like I say, the vocals are done. I'm pretty happy with the bass sound now. I'd split it out previously between sub and high, and I was getting a few kind of erroneous booming notes because I hadn't got the crossover between the low frequency and the high frequency sorted. I think that's improved a lot. I've been working on the EQ curves to try to get them a little bit more complementary with each other. So that's the high one, and the low one here looks like this. So much steeper curves, much less time when both of the bass sounds are sounding, so we don't get that doubling effect. And from that point onwards, I'll now apply some automation on the master bus, which has basically merged those two together, so that if there are any other moments where something is just too loud and I don't want to try and control it with compression, I'll just use volume automation. So that's all sounding pretty good. There's all the vocals. The drums have undergone a pretty spectacular transformation. I was cleaning the Groove Agent sounds and trying to. There were like lots of similar sounds that were going to different buses, and they just didn't need to be. You know, hi-hat 1 and hi-hat 2, which are almost the same sound, and they were on different mixer channels, and there's just no value to having those two on a separate bus. Let's try and simplify it as much as possible without losing flexibility to make my life easier when I come to mixing, because I had something like 29 tracks of drums. It was just going to be really difficult to actually do anything with them. So during that process, and that clean up process, I was rearranging the pads in the Groove Agent. Let me show you. So there's almost nothing left now. But yeah, these pads were falling all over the place, and there was a hi-hat down here and a hi-hat over here and so I started moving them around, and I'd moved all the sounds around so that we had kicks and snares, and there's all the hats together, and here's all the congas together. Inadvertently hadn't moved the MIDI information on the Groove Agent track, so it had assigned completely different drum sounds. Like what used to be hi-hats were now congas, and what used to be congas were now hi-hats. And without realising this, I soloed the Groove Agent track, pressed play, was listening to it, and I thought, wow, that sounds different. And there were aspects about it that were just better. I actually went back to the original version before I'd messed around with all the drum sounds, and it was fine, but there were incredibly, and it's just totally bizarre, some of the drum sounds sounded better in their new assignments than in the previous ones. So I had a complete overhaul of all the Groove Agent sounds and tried to figure out what was going on, and in the end came up with a sound that I actually prefer. A complete ridiculous accident that I really shouldn't admit. There's just no reason at all why this should work, but the new groove just sounded really good, so I let my ears tell me keep it. There were a couple of things that were very obviously wrong and had to be reassigned, but for the most part it just worked. A completely bizarre happy accident. So that was with the Groove Agent stuff, and then thought, right, well, let's push on and try and get a little bit more clarity with the drum sound. So I set to work on Machine over the last few days, and a similar kind of thing. I went through each track one by one, listening to it, thinking, does it deserve to be on its own mixer channel? There were some places where I'd routed two different sounding drums that happened to be called like maybe Shaker 1 and Shaker 2, and I'd mapped them both to a Shaker track, but they were really quite radically different sounds and didn't want to be on the same track, so were causing problems, were going to cause problems when I came to mix, because these two things were just clashing with each other. Had a review of all of that, and at the end of that process had a machine bank that I'm also pretty happy with now. So this is what Machine sounds like at the moment. There's quite a nice thing going on at 57. So it just sits really nicely now. Everything is chugging along very pleasantly. Bring Groove Agent in. So I'm really happy with the bass drum sound. With the basic drum sound. One thing that I did find while I was having that clean-up process in Machine, let me just, there we go. So these two patterns here, drums 1 and drums 2, they originally came from the same preset, and unbeknownst to me until I focused this level of attention on Machine, this pattern here and this pattern here both had a clap, both had this clap, playing this pink. Hear it? So because both of these patterns had exactly the same sound, they were phasing with each other. It was very unpleasant. And I was happy to catch it, because those are the things that I often wonder whether or not I can hear these things. And in the full mix, I couldn't. When there's 20 odd drum sounds running, I'd missed it, and I'd missed that this sound was actually kind of broken. So just removed the clap from this pattern up here, just took it away, because these two patterns, pattern 5 only ever plays when this pattern down here is playing, so I was able to take the clap away with no adverse effect on any other part of the drum sound, and so that was just, again, another one of those, boy, you really do need to pay attention. You can't just throw a load of stuff down and turn it all on and expect it all to work. It kind of does if you listen from a distance, but then when you go in and you solo everything else and you're just listening to the clap, you go, I had two separate tracks. Oh no, I didn't actually. They were both going to the same output. I'd routed both clap tracks to the same mixer channel in Cubase. But when I was listening to it, I could clearly hear that there was this unpleasant sound. So I'm happy to have caught that. That's good stuff. So generally speaking, the drums I'm very happy with now. Again, a completely flat mix. So by what I mean when I say a flat mix is that I've moved the volume sliders to a point where you can play the entire song and it sounds fine. It sounds okay. I just did. But obviously now we go in and we start automating each one of those faders, and you only want to do that once you've really finished writing all of the music, because the last thing that you want is to put all of that work into your mixer and get all your volumes absolutely smashing, and then like want to re-record something and you've just invalidated all that work. So I think I am going to call this one done now. I'm not going to write any more music for it. Now we're going into the real mixing process, and then ultimately on towards mastering. What that involves, who knows? I re-recorded the guitar solo at the end. There was a slide I talked about. This note used to slide down. I've left the slide in the previous one. It works well at that point in the song. It's not offensive at all. But the one at the end, I just felt was a bit cheesy to finish the song on a guitar slide down. So I re-recorded the solo. Had great fun doing it. I think the solo is slightly better now than it was. I actually kept quite a bit of the old solo in it. The beauty of the comping tool is that if you record using the same settings, the same guitar and your same presets, I was able to mix those two versions together, so keep the best bits of the old one, and there were a couple of little licks in the newly recorded one that I thought, yep, that's better, that just sounds nicer, so merge those two together and then render that to a new track, and you've got one seamless guitar solo that you can't tell any of the joins, you really can't hear it. And that's about it. There's been a lot of work going on this. The vocals have taken an awful lot of time to get them really clean and tidy, and I'm now very happy with them. So onto the mixing process, and who knows what joys await there. But hopefully we'll find out together. Thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's completely free to do so. And if you hit notifications, then you'll find out when the next episode comes out. I'll see you then, hopefully. Thanks very much. Bye.